That was Groove Theory. Tell me. So over this holiday weekend, I got a chance. I was sitting around spending time with my family, and I watched Till. And at the same time, the story of the Emmett Till story. It was a very sad movie. Of course, we all know what happened. And at the same time I was watching that movie, a picture came across my social media. And it was of the Jerry Jones, a very young Jerry Jones, when he was a high school student. And he was one of the people that were torturing young black kids who were trying to integrate a school in Little Rock. And it occurred to me, because these incidents happened about the same time, in the late 50s, Emmett Till was killed. This picture's from the late 1950s. And I heard Stephen A. Smith say something very interesting, that he was appalled that people were bringing up a picture that was so old and judging somebody at 14 years old. I actually do agree with that, but I wish that they would be consistent. I wish that Tamir Rice wasn't judged so harshly at 12 years old. I wish that Trayvon Martin wasn't judged so harshly at 12 years old, but I digress. Now, of course, you can't take the actions of a 14-year-old boy. There's a certain amount of grace that you give to them. My problem with that 14-year-old boy, Jerry Jones, and they were torturing these young black kids who tried to integrate the school, is that Jerry Jones was indicative of the rule and not the exception. Most people in that area felt and acted, teenagers acted like that. As a matter of fact, it's very hard for a teenager to depart from the group. They often do succumb to peer pressure. Jerry Jones went on and became a very successful businessman and later on the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. And people in response, he couldn't be racist because he made a lot of black millionaires. He made black millionaires because he was an NFL owner. So you try fielding a successful NFL team without black people. You might as well try rugby. So he was a businessman who bought the best athletes, and somebody else would have done that. My problem isn't so much with Jerry Jones, but the people in that group, the people of that age, they didn't stop being what they were. They went on and became police officers and judges and nurses and doctors and bankers. And they still carried those same attitudes with them wherever they went. Those people didn't have a come to Jesus moment. Most of them continue to feel like they always do. And that wasn't so long ago. Ruby Bridges, who integrated the first school, I think in Alabama, is only 68 years old. So the very people in that group, the very people you're giving grace to, went on. I know that they're your nana and your papa now. I get it. I get how sweet they are. And they tell you stories. But when they were younger, they spent a lot of time torturing black children and never having to be held accountable for it. They just got to pretend like they didn't do it anymore or say nothing about it and move on. Now they want those things not even tied in history. They don't want anybody to bring up their actions. They don't want anybody to know what happened. You can tell they're proud of what they did. They're proud. They took pictures of it. Who takes pictures of things you thought wrong? That was indicative of the way the country, by and large, felt then, and those people did not have a changing moment. They didn't have a change of heart. You know, Chris Brown was denied the right to perform a tribute to Michael Jackson. You know, a lot of people have the sentiment, once you're an abuser, always an abuser. Well, Jerry Jones, once you're a racist, aren't you always a racist? Now, I don't know. I do know this. He's never hired a black coach. He's never really had a serious interview for one. So it would stand to reason that a man who felt like that at 14 probably feels the same way in his 80s. What in his experience would make him different? The fact that he hired black people who were the best in the field, the best at their positions, to do a thing for him, to be a service for him. Even back then, they had prize bucks. Now, I'm not judging the 14-year-old. I think you can judge. You can't judge any of those people at the age they were at. The problem is that what motivated them to be different. The same mentality that got Emmett Smith killed, Emmett Till killed. It's the same mentality that was pervasive in that picture. So I know your nanas and papas are wonderful people, but take a look at some of those photo albums and get a sense of who they really were. Because those same people that you smile with and laugh with tortured children. Ruby Bridges had to have FBI agents go to school with her. Only one teacher volunteered to teach her. It was a horrible time. She was 68 years old, 10 years older than me. And those people, they got to pretend, they got to go on and pretend like nothing ever happened and move on, and everything changed except their mentalities. They watched Fox News. They say horrible things about people behind their back. And they raised the children. Like every time I see somebody who says something incredibly racist, I wasn't raised that way. You were. Look at the people who raised you. Look at the people who raised the people that raised you. And then what happened? What was the single event that changed their mindset so that they wouldn't feel like they had the right to act this way? Because if nothing changed, nothing changes. So I'm not judging the 14-year-old boys and girls in that picture. I'm not judging what they were. I'm judging what they still, many of them are. There's a little note from the GED section. We got the jazz report coming up in 15 minutes.